Charlotte Ashford had been to more business events and high society galas than she could count. But this wedding was different. For once, she wasn't attending out of duty or obligation. She was there simply as a guest. At 34, Charlotte led Ashford Industries with confidence and grace. She had the sharpness of a natural leader and the poise of someone who knew how to handle any room. She also used a wheelchair, the result of a skiing accident 3 years earlier that left her with a spinal cord injury. The injury had changed her life in countless practical ways, but it had never touched her intelligence, her elegance, or her drive. What it had changed was how she experienced public events. Too often, people reacted to her chair with discomfort. Some stared, others avoided eye contact altogether. Over time, the weight of managing those awkward interactions made her increasingly selective about social gatherings. This wedding, however, was different. It was for Jessica, her former college roommate and one of the few people who had stood by her through rehabilitation and recovery. For Jessica, Charlotte was willing to step into the spotlight again. She found herself a seat at the edge of the ballroom, where she could enjoy the festivities but also have an easy escape if the night became too overwhelming. From her spot, she watched couples laughing and dancing, but as the music played on, she felt the familiar loneliness that sometimes followed her into crowded rooms. That's when she noticed the little girl. She couldn't have been more than 4 years old, dressed in a purple dress, clutching a small stuffed toy. The child stood near Charlotte's table, scanning the room with wide, uncertain eyes. "Are you lost, sweetheart?" Charlotte asked gently. The girl gave a small nod. "I can't find my daddy," she replied matter-of-factly as only a child would. Charlotte smiled reassuringly. "Can you tell me what your daddy looks like?" The little one thought for a moment before saying, "He's really tall, has dark hair, and he's wearing the same kind of suit as all the other daddies here." Charlotte chuckled softly. That description could have fit half the men in the ballroom. "Well," she said, "why don't we look for him together?" "My name is Charlotte. What's yours?" "Lily," the child answered, now more relaxed. "And my daddy is the best daddy in the whole world." Before Charlotte could reply, a man appeared at the table, scanning the crowd with relief all over his face. "Lily, there you are," he said, crouching down to hug her. "Daddy," she exclaimed. Then she turned proudly toward Charlotte. "This is Charlotte. She was helping me because I got lost." The man looked up at Charlotte, gratitude shining in his expression. "Thank you so much for staying with her," he said. "I'm Michael Torres. I can't tell you how much I appreciate it." For a moment, Charlotte studied his face. There was no trace of the awkwardness she had come to expect, only genuine kindness. "It's nice to meet you, Michael." "Lily has been wonderful company," Charlotte replied warmly. Michael appeared to be in his mid-30s with an easy confidence that made his suit look natural rather than stiff. Most importantly, he spoke to Charlotte directly, looking at her rather than past her. As their conversation unfolded, Charlotte learned that Michael was attending the wedding alone. His babysitter had canceled at the last minute, so he had brought Lily along. He worked as a pediatric nurse at Children's Hospital, which explained both his gentle patience and his natural way with children. "I hope you don't mind me saying this," Michael added after Lily settled in beside Charlotte, "but you handled her so well. A lot of people would have just sent her to a staff member or security." Charlotte felt something stir inside her at the recognition. "Most people assume kids in wheelchairs don't go together," she admitted. "But I've always enjoyed talking to children. They see things so clearly." Michael nodded knowingly. "I see it all the time at work. Children adapt quickly. It's adults who often have trouble accepting what's different." As the evening went on, Charlotte found herself engaged in easy conversation with both Michael and Lily. The little girl's curiosity was refreshing. She even asked Charlotte thoughtful questions about her wheelchair in the most natural way. Then with sudden inspiration, Lily looked up at her. "Can I push you to the dance floor? I think you and Daddy should dance together." Michael's face flushed slightly. "Lily," he said gently, "not everyone likes to dance." But before he could continue, Charlotte surprised herself. "Actually, I'd love to. I haven't danced since my accident, but I've always wondered if it was possible." Michael's expression softened into a smile. "Then let's figure it out together." What followed was unlike any dance Charlotte had ever known. Michael moved with her naturally, adjusting his steps to create rhythm and flow with her wheelchair. It didn't feel forced, it felt joyful. And with Lily acting as their enthusiastic dance instructor, the moment became even more special. For the first time since her accident, Charlotte felt included, truly included, in a celebration. Guests didn't look at her with pity. They watched with admiration, and it was Michael's easy acceptance that seemed to shift everything. As the night drew to a close, Michael approached her looking a bit nervous. "Charlotte," he said, "this may sound forward, but would you like to have dinner with me sometime? Not as a thank you for helping Lily, but because I've really enjoyed talking with you." Charlotte looked at him, touched by his sincerity. For so long, people had made her feel like an inspiration or a tragic story, but Michael made her feel seen as a woman. "I'd like that very much," she replied. Over the months that followed, their connection deepened naturally. Michael was thoughtful and intelligent, but what stood out most was his ability to see beyond her chair. To him, it was just one detail, not her definition. His work in pediatric medicine had given him a strong sense of perspective. He valued Charlotte's mind, her strength, and her resilience. And just as importantly, both Michael and Lily welcomed her into their lives with warmth that felt more like family than anything else. 8 months later, in the accessible garden Charlotte had designed at her home, Michael told her he loved her. "I fell in love with your intelligence, your kindness, and your strength," he said. "Your wheelchair is just one part of who you are, not the most important part." Tears welled in Charlotte's eyes. "I love you too. And I love how you and Lily have shown me that my life isn't defined by anyone else's expectations." 2 years later, they married in the very same ballroom where they had first danced. Lily, now proudly serving as flower girl, wore a purple dress much like the one from that night. Charlotte's custom gown was designed to look breathtaking, whether she was seated or standing. As she and Michael danced once again, with Lily twirling beside them, Charlotte thought about how a lost child had led her to the love she thought she might never find. Sometimes the most meaningful connections appear when we stop hiding, allow ourselves to be vulnerable, and trust that the right people will see us for exactly who we are. If this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real stories about love, resilience, and the beauty of true acceptance.